I am Titan of the Titan Metal Manufacturing Company. We make brass and solve production and sales problems by the use of brass. We're brass specialists. People like brass, you know, and they use a lot of it in a lot of different ways.
Hey, Local Historia is back at Titan Hollow.
Yeah, we're looking at the revitalization of Titan Energy Park. We sat down with former employees to learn the history from their experiences. And we visited Titan Hollow and Axemann Brewery to see how they're keeping history alive in new and creative ways. Hey, Angela.
Hi, welcome to the Hollow.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Oh, please, my pleasure.
All right.
Would you like to take a look around?
Yes,
Sure.
Thank you.
Come on.
So, Angela, what brought you to Titan Hollow and what do you have going on here?
I was the chief cider maker for Empire Cider, and I brought some ciders down to a Penn State football tailgate. And the tailgate, people whose tailgate it was happened to be the owners of this building. And said, have you ever thought of going out on your own? I was looking at a place in the Finger Lakes, saw this factory, and on that next Sunday, I immediately pulled out of the deal in Finger Lakes and came down here. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing that the amount of space, the height of the ceilings, the industrial feel of it all, the amazing generosity of our landlords to be able to remove equipment and reposition it and get it from different buildings while keeping the integrity of Titan Energy. Yeah, so when you have a space like this, we went with black on the walls so everything else could just pop out. We have the panels from the boiler house that used to run all the boilers right across the bridge. They brought them over here to build our hostess station. They rewired the lights with our Arduino board so that they had different dials turn different things on. This was the controller for the boiler. We have what I like to call the robot wall, which are the pilots for the boiler. So when they disassembled the boiler house and brought them over to rebuild it behind the wall, I think I had the stokers above the furnace door, and all the guys came down and said, nope, this is God, you gotta have the stokers on. I'm like, nobody will even know. They will notice. Put it the way it's supposed to be.
I was well satisfied with the whole time I worked here, quite frankly. Tell you one thing, it was a very important part of the war industry. They made a lot of parts for bombs and whatever in this place. We made little round things and we forged them and what have you, and they were called time train rings for bombs, and made from different sized bombs for the war effort.
52, I got drafted. And I went to service for 2 years, and I come back and I got out in 54. I come back to the Titan, and I got my same job back. I got a raise with the other people that didn't go, and after I come back, when I got out of service there in 54, I waited 2 years to come back to work. But they gave me everything, more than I wanted.
So employees served from the company, and a lot of them came back to find their job waiting for them.
Yeah.
This company had a lot of employees we talked to are like, I served, and then I came back and they held my job, and just a really veteran-friendly place. And then there was also guys that gave their lives in World War II, and I imagine other conflicts. And then this is the Army Navy E Award. Pretty amazing. E for excellence, like you said. One of the top producing plant in the country.
This place, from up there down through, we worked 7 days a week, 24 hours a day for a couple of years during the war, just making fuse rings and timing devices, stuff for on artillery shells and bombs, and it was just continuous. We never stopped.
The military gave out E awards, and there was a flagpole out here, a big pedestal made out of standing stone, had the E award on. And a tractor trailer hit it after knocked it down. I don't know where that ever ended up at that plaque, but if you go up into Plan 4, there's a lot of equipment up there that has the asset numbers on it, property of U.S. government. They provided the equipment that we needed to make their products. And then after the war was over, we inherited them.
I would love to see when it had a high concentration of women running the plant here because the men were off to war.
Yes, absolutely.
So
that's when.
Knowing that our business is women centered, I would love to find those photos and put them up and preserve their part of the history too.
Well, I'm glad I was a small part of the history of Cerro, and I'm really sad that it had to leave Bellefonte at all. It really was important to Bellefonte. I myself didn't have family here, but a lot of the families had relatives down through the years working here in different areas, and it was a big part of Bellefonte, of their life.
But that's one nice thing about Cerro. Cerro was a place, family place. My father worked here, my uncles worked here, and it just felt part of your life. So you followed your tradition.
A lot of this was family. My father worked here, my grandfather worked here, my uncle was here, I worked here, my brother was here, my cousin worked here. And a lot of at that time, that's what got you in here was family.
Everybody you encounter in Bellefonte, Center County, knows somebody, whether it was their family member, their neighbor, their cousin, worked here. So to see them come in and not being a local person, to come in and hear the stories and how much Titan Energy or Cerro Metal or whatever it was called during whichever decade meant so much to the community. And then to have it just shut down. Like when we were up in the different locker rooms, cleaning them out for different reasons, there were love letters, and there were boots and clothes, and it was just a time capsule of when they just shut the doors and closed it down. So we had tons of workers' boots stretched the whole way down the room, and it just amazing how many hours of their lives were spent here. And then to see them come back in the door and give me an education on, I used to work in the boiler house, and this is what we did with this one or that one. And this is, die cast, and you can still see the grass embedded in the floor.
I was hired here 4/11/77. Last Monday, if Cerro would still be open, I'd have been here 45 years. And right where I'm sitting right now was one of the last places I sat before they closed the door too. We all was here till they closed the doors. That's for.
Bob Breeder, 1973 to 2008. I worked about every department here, I think.
I actually started down here in 71, and I worked till 2008. Started in 1969 to 2008. I started in large rod and went the whole way out to the end of the door.
So Angela, you're playing an incredible role in preserving this wonderful history. Why do you think that's so important?
Here at Titan Hollow, we're just completely honored to be part of this space and to help preserve the history and what it means to the community, while making sure it's unique and individual and totally repurposed to a new life. Not being able to tear these buildings down, but just find new life in them and use it for something completely different.
People like brass, and they use a lot of it in a lot of different ways.
Make the kind of brass, give the kind of engineering advice, and provide the prompt service that enables our customers to answer yes to those questions. And here's the way we go about it.
Derek, what excites me about this place is the connection it has. This whole area has a connection to the iron history of Center County. This site eventually becomes an iron works, Nittany Iron Works. That's why Harvey Mann made Axis, because it had the right iron. Actually, when the Sieg family eventually purchases this whole area, they kind of transition it from iron to brass.
So iron, brass, and now beer.
Right here
on this hallowed ground right here.
Hey, Rod.
Hey, welcome to Axemann.
Thanks for having us.
Good to see you, Rod.
Welcome, guys. Yeah, welcome to Axemann.
Appreciate you. Show us around.
Sure. Yeah, I'll show you a little bit about the history of this place and how we repurposed a lot of this building to, to keep kind of the theme of the old facility, the Cerro, Bolton, and Titan Metal. First thing is our little greeter stand here. That came from in the plant here somewhere.
Nice.
And we really didn't change it much. We just brushed it off, cleaned it up a little bit. It was probably like a little foreman's desk or something like that, I imagine.
So you helped build this?
Yeah.
Is that your work?
Yep, we pulled those out of the locker room, the trim shop. Everybody's favorite part is the Honda sticker. That's a bit of a famous feature of that wall there.
Okay.
The floors we also kept. We had them ground down several times. It almost gives it a little bit of a terrazzo look, but we had to grind a lot of the grime off of here from many decades of being a steel and metal plant.
Right.
When the business started, it was Alpha Manufacturing, and it was actually down at McCoy's Dam in Belfast. That only lasted about 2 years, I think, 1915 to 1917. And they moved up to this current location. And their primary product was large diameter brass and bronze rods, which would be melted, cast, screwed. Plumbing, electronics, valves, fittings. Some of the most popular products that the average person would know is if you go to Lowe's and you want to buy a plumbing fitting, whether it's a compression fitting or not, our customers would either use our rod and do it, or we made those for them in the automatic screw machine product. If the forging industry, we would make forgings. Most of that went to the valve and fitting industry. And that went into refrigeration, heating, air conditioning, compressed gas. And some of the people would really recognize if you have a barbecue grill, the valve on top of 20-pound cylinder, we made those by the hundreds of thousands, and we either machined them to the customer specs, or we sold them to raw forging, and they machined them to their specs.
When I first came to work here, I ran a forge press. And after, I think it was whatever the probationary time was, because it's a union shop, I bid out of that into die cast. And the difference between the processes with the forge press, you take a slug or a piece off a piece of rod and heat it up and put it in a die and forge it. With die cast, we had molten metal, where we'd have closed dies, and then you would scoop out metal and pour it into the top, and it would go all through the section of the dies. Then you'd open it up and then take one piece out, or 2 pieces or whatever.
Former employees come in here. We usually ask them to sign the book, just kind of say when they worked here or what they did. One of the former employees here informed us one day that this was a vat of acid. It was an acid dipped, a place for acid dipping, and as it splashed out, it was corroding the concrete, so they put a resistant brick around the perimeter of that vat. Crane rails. They would move a lot of product up and down assembly lines or the process with the crane rails. There's still a few here that we'll be able to see, but this is one right here. Had an architect help us kind of pull some of that vision together. Local architect here, Hoffman Leakey Architects.
Okay.
And they did a great job, and really we gave them a 2-word vision, which was Industrial Oktoberfest.
I think you nailed it.
Unbelievable how many different machines were here and how much knowledge was here, and especially the tool and die makers and machinists, they were unbelievable, the work they did here. And there was so much different machinery, to work on. I mean, it was pretty fascinating.
And I think that's the legacy here is to see, for us who spent all these years here, is to see that the building is bebeing used for something that's necessary and something that can utilize the facility. And so every time we walk in here, we have a memory.
About a month ago, we were doing the interviews with the former Cerro employees, and at the end of the interviews, the guy came up to me and he said, "Hey, check this out. This is my old locker number 16 for about 10 years." And so we sat and chatted by his old locker, and that's really what touched me, and just to connect that whole project and meet a guy who used the locker, throughout his career. It's pretty incredible.
We have a new Pilsner coming out. The Pilatus has been revamped if you're into Pilsners.
Yeah, I'll try that.
And it's fresh out of the bright tank. So.
So Rod, you're a big part of keeping this chapter of history alive, in a new and creative way. How do you feel about that?
We're very happy to be a part of it. And like I said, this was, kind of by chance that we were introduced to this facility. And I'm so glad we were. Once we saw that vision, it was great that we could, incorporate so much of the existing facility and the history of the facility. We felt that this had such local history here. We wanted to keep the name. Some older fellows have come in, with their daughters or sons, grandchildren, and we've been able to give them tours, and they pointed out what used to be there, and this didn't. They're like, this didn't look like this, when I worked here. Well, we hope to grow our production side of things and the distribution. We're in the majority of Pennsylvania right now. We'd like to make sure we're covered everywhere in PA, and then hit a little bit more of the mid-Atlantic area. Hopefully we'll be looking at maybe a satellite location or two. That's still nothing that's definite, but we are looking at those possibilities, and hope to get out to certain festivals. We've been doing some beer festivals, some local festivals in the last 2 years, and we hope to continue to do some of that to still be a part of the community here.
It fits right into that story, that industrial history of the county. It went from iron and transitioned to brass, really. I mean, this was an old ironworks at one point, the Nittany Ironworks. That you have that axe history, that iron history, and then eventually that brass and alloy metals, and helped her just really celebrating that, which is really cool, and running with it. So.
And it's a cool name, so you can't go wrong with that. Axemann sounds like a cool name for a brewery.